might have withstood a challenge. Rather than leave that as a gray area, the chairman was kind enough to go back and change the effective date to be upon the governor's signature, and that would remove forever any question about whether it's a valid statute. As long as we were fixing it, Representative McKillop and some others noticed a problem that the language that we had drafted in 13856 would have limited the application of all of the code sections, or could have, I should say, could potentially have been interpreted to apply only to interim covenants. And while the time limit in paragraph 1 of 13856 was intended just to apply to interim, the restrictions regarding geographic territory and scope of business were intended to apply to both interim and post-term. And so the aim of what we're trying to do here is simply say that these presumptions apply to both interim and post-term covenants, with the exception of the time, and that paragraph 1 refers only to interim, and that for post-term covenants you go over to 13857.
But we have not changed or not proposing to change anything substantive that we did.
Nothing. There were some gender, I think, or it wasn't even gender, it was some and/ors and
we have avoided going into a substantive change.
Right.
Okay.
Very much
I
so.
just what I want to make sure of, because we dealt with it extensively last year.
I couldn't agree more. I think it's well settled, and you guys have given me more than ample time on this.
Yeah. And the year before.
And the year before.
Thank you. And you have a question, Mr. Crawford?
I kind of do. It's really more in the manner of tossing out something to get your input on it, because I got here a few minutes early, and so I scribbled. I think I'm capturing the essence of what you're wanting, and I'm looking beginning at line 292, subparagraph 1. If it said this, does this accurately describe what you're trying to do? If the restrictions set forth in a restrictive covenant are in compliance with this code section, the enforcement of such restrictions shall be presumed to be reasonable throughout the term of the employment or business relationship, provided, however, that the reasonableness of a time period for the enforcement of such restrictions after a term of employment shall be as provided for in Code Section 13857.
Well stated.
I mean, I think that either of these would accomplish that. It's hard for me listening to, without seeing the written word, to give you much of an informed comment.
I could show you my written word, but you couldn't read it.
Well, they teach you that in law school. They taught me
Yes.
the same thing. You know, again, my preference for this language is that I think it changes as little as possible the original language. Sure. And even though we are really doing a technical and conforming change, I think eyebrows begin to raise when you start putting in more verbiage, and we were trying here to stick to the original language as much as possible. So while my preference is for that language, you know, obviously it's in the breast of the committee. It's not up to us citizens.
My concern about that, though, as long as it has this phrase in there that talks about a time period equal to or measured by the duration of the parties, blah, 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 that it's going to give rise to somebody, perhaps through a cursory reading, that the intention is other than what we're talking about.
May I respond? I think what you've got by the opening clause of that paragraph is recognizing that I'm going to work for Mr. Levitas' company, and I'm going to be privy to a lot of things that may be harmful if I use them against him, even during employment. And so I'm into a restrictive agreement with him that during my time of employment, I'm not going to give anybody his list of customers for whatever reason, or give anybody the formula for preparation of certain chemical products for any reason, profit or otherwise. So I'm restricted during that entire time of employment. And then it also says, whatever reason you leave me, after your term of employment with us, up to a term of 2 years, those same restrictions and conditions will apply. That's what its intent is.
I don't think there's any disagreement or misunderstanding, Mr. Chairman, as to the intent. It's just that lawyers doing what lawyers do, is there anything in the way it's currently set forth that might lend confusion? So.
I just don't see it. I mean, I'd be interested in Ms. Travis's input if she sees a problem with that. I doubt she will, since I think she's the one that drafted the language. But again, obviously, we all agree on what we're after. My intent was just to try and stick as much as possible to the original language, just as we've talked about, so it doesn't raise any eyebrows. No one thinks we're trying to do something different than what we're trying to do.
All right. Anything further, Mr. Crawford? No, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, do I see your secretary for my witness fee?
Sure.
Sure. Is it the same as usual?
Always.
Thank you.
Actually doubled it.
Do we have anyone else who would like to speak at this time on House Bill 30? If not, we will close off further discussion. It's now in the rest of the committee. Do we have discussion among members of the committee regarding House Bill 30? If there's no further discussion, the chair will entertain a motion.
Do pass.
It's been moved, do pass, and seconded. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Do we have any proposed amendments? The chair would like to make a amendment suggestion, please. Set forth an amendment as on line 290, competition during, and then insert after during or after, then continue on with the term of an employment or business relationship, etc. So we'll be inserting or after. Do I have a second on that motion? It's been. Yes, sir. Push your button.
This is on page 9, line 290.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, line 290 on page 9.
So it'll read that limits or restricts competition during or after the term of an employment or business relationship.
Yes, sir.
etc. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. It's been well seconded then. Chair will call for a vote first on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. The amendment motion carries. Back to the main question. The motion is to approve Senate Bill 30 as a committee substitute as set forth in LC 294559S. Any further discussion of the motion? If it's none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion does carry. And that will complete our business for today. Thank you, too, for coming down again, everyone. And I think we're on a good road now with it. And we feel more comfortable that it shouldn't cause further consternation when we get over the other side of the General Assembly.